Hello, I'm so excited that you want to learn more about Family Promise. Family Promise is a leading national profit addressing family homelessness, and Riverside is working to open their own affiliate. This is the board that is working in Riverside. You have myself, Deanna Cohen, who's the president. Matt Harris Gloyer is the vice president. Phil Smith is the treasurer. Claire Schlegel is a member at large. Aaron Cohen is a member at large, and Stacy is our regional director. Family Promise was founded in 1988 and is a national organization. They have over 200 affiliates in 43 states. Other ones close to us are in Orange County, San Gabriel Valley, South Bay. Those are the ones that are near us. Each affiliate is its own 501c3 nonprofit, and the average success rate for the national program is 88% of the people that come into Family Promise find housing in 9 weeks. So we have a really good success rate. The average length of stay is 63 days. And we have been a Charity Navigator 4-star charity for 7 years in a row. And Family Promise is unique because we operate on a hospitality model where we work on hospitality shelter, providing meals, providing support and wraparound services and stabilization for families that come to us in order to holistically help move families that are experiencing homelessness out of that situation. We really focus on coordinated compassion and coordinated care. So our goal is to use the current things that are in our community and help to coordinate them in order to address systemic problems and empower families to move towards economic stability. It's really a holistic approach, which is unique to some other programs. As you know, there's a huge need. We're getting calls every month already. We have not opened yet. We're working towards opening the Riverside branch, and we're already getting calls every week asking for help. 2.5 million children experience homelessness in the U.S. Right now. 2,643 in Riverside Unified School District experienced homelessness in 2017 and 2018 school year. And as you know, given COVID, that number just has increased. What we want to do is we want to work with existing organizations and specifically faith groups in order to help them organize in order to make a lasting difference. My family, my young son, who is 5 years old now, but when we started looking into Family Promise, he was only 3. And then my daughter, who is 12, and my daughter, who's 15, all enjoy working with this program because it's a way that they can use their current skills in order to help people that are struggling. There's a lot of churches, including our own church that my family goes to, that really have a strong desire to help and make a huge difference in the community, but they don't quite know how. And what this program does is it works to unite all of the groups in the community that really want to make a big difference. And it helps to break down that help into small chunks so that each group can really do what they're really capable of doing and make a huge difference. So what happens is when a family is experiencing homelessness, we typically get a call from the school district. It's oftentimes from the school district. And what they'll do is they'll say, hey, we have a family. They're a family of 4, 2 kids, and a mom and a dad, and they need help. Or what they'll tell us a little bit about the family. And we will evaluate if we think that we can help given the resources that we have at that time. And if they're going through current domestic violence or drug addiction, we're not able to help because we're a volunteer group. So we're not able to help in those situations. So we would refer those situations out. But that leaves us with a large chunk of people that we are able to help. And so what we do is we operate in a week, 1 week at a time, what would happen is a family would come to us on Sunday at 6 p.m. and we would house them in one of our host sites. Our host sites might be a church, it might be a synagogue, it might be a mosque, it might be a community center that's not being used for other things at that time. And from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m., they would stay at that site, at the host site. During the day, they go to our day center. Our day center is located around RCC. It's this house here. It's around RCC. And at the day center, they'd look for jobs. They'd work with our case manager and our executive director in order to connect their wraparound services and become more stable and work on coaching and that kind of thing. Or a lot of our clients would also go to their jobs during the day or to school during the day. So the day center acts as a base site. It also allows congregations and organizations to function semi-normally during the day of the week that they are volunteering. So host sites volunteer 1 week at a time, and they volunteer 4 times a year. And so it breaks down a large need into very systematic pieces. And a family that comes to our site would stay at the host site, and it might be an old Sunday school room where we set up cots and we provide the cots. It might be a multi-purpose room where we put tents for each family to stay in, or dividers, and each family has their own space. There's 5 families at a time that would stay at a host site. Okay, so during the evening, they're at the host site. During the day, they go to the day center. They do this for 1 week, and then the next week, a new host site takes them on for that week. Okay, so again, we rotate weekly. We begin at the beginning of the week on Sunday night, 6 p.m. Volunteers would set up spaces that look homey. And we've seen it in office spaces. We've seen it in Sunday school buildings, like I said, multi-purpose rooms. And then the host site provides meals for the family for that week. And then the next week, the new host site would provide meals. Okay. At the end of the week, guests transport to the new location. Things are cleaned and the process starts over. In the evening, guests have dinner with the volunteers. This is what really sold us on the program, because my family with young children were able to go and sit down and have a meal with the 5 families. We provided the meal and we sat down and we ate and we played games every night, and it provided some sense of community, and it created relationships, which, as you know, relationships really are what help create lasting change. It also helps with the coaching process. Okay. During the day, like I said, families go to jobs, school, day center. Caseworkers work on stabilization. The program, the cost of the program is, in order to provide a full-time director, a part-time case manager, a day center, and transportation. And if you know anything about volunteer organizations, programs like this do really great at first when the person in charge of it is really excited. And then that person moves on, and sometimes programs die. The thing about this program is we do have a paid executive director and a paid case manager. And those people really help to make sure that churches and organizations that are volunteering don't burn out, and that they're able to keep all the pieces together. They help to create continuity amongst the program. Okay. The community has come together. We've had 60 people at a lot of our core meetings. We've had this mayor speak. We've had the city homeless solutions department speak at our core meetings. We meet once a month to once every 2 months, depending on COVID and what's going on in the world. Right now, we're meeting via Zoom every other month. And we're focusing on grant writing, fundraising, recruiting host sites, and letting people know what our program is about. And as you know, there's a huge need with COVID. The need is just getting greater and greater. So our goal is to open as soon as possible. We know that this program is proven at, remember, 88% success rate. It's low cost. It provides dedicated people working with the continuum of care in order to help coach and help families move to sustainability. Right now, this is December 6th when this video is filmed. Right now, we have 41% of our funding. We have raised $81,733 so far. Our goal is approximately $195,000. That is our operating cost. Remember, that pays for the day center, and the executive director and the part-time case manager. We are hoping to start providing services once we reach 50%. We will be able to start working towards full opening, but at 50%, we'll be able to start offering services. At 100%, we'll be able to run fully. Okay. Given COVID, what I just explained to you is our non-COVID model. Given COVID, we have a little bit of flexibility in some of the things and some of the ways that we will open. So right now, when we have 0 to 50% of our funding, we are working to create relationships with the community. We are able to connect families to resources in the community. And we also have been able to connect one family in particular, a family of 8, to a church that is raring to go and wants our program open right away. And they were able to say, hey, we know you're not open and not able to help us with the executive director, but we can take that family in right now. And so we were able to help make that connection. Okay. In phase 2, when we have 50% of our funding, we have $16,000 to $34,000 to go in order to get to that 50% of our funding. Okay. Some of the funding that we have is our grants, and some of them need to be spent in a certain amount of time. So that's why there's that range, because some of the money actually will be spent to provide services in the meantime. When we have 50% of our funding, so that's soon, very soon, we will be partially opening. We know that we will still be in COVID. So while we are still in COVID, we have our own insurance that helps to provide some security for churches and people that are willing to help us out. We understand that given COVID, we may not be able to operate with the 1 week at a time model. So what will happen is we're going to need to be flexible. And at the time that we have 50% of our funding, and we have some congregations and some organizations that are willing to be host sites, we'll start to have conversations and see, hey, how are we going to be able to make this work? We have 2 families right now that need someplace to stay. Are you able to take them for a little bit longer, but maybe only take 1 family instead of taking 5 families? In order to be COVID safe, we might not want 5 families in 1 room. Instead, we might want one church to take 1 family for a longer period of time. They might be able to do that because their buildings are not open during COVID. So we will provide some flexibility, and we will use our executive director in order to help facilitate some of those conversations and case management. Okay. In phase 3, we're expecting we will be around 80% of our funding. We're expecting that we'll have at least 6 host sites, if not more. We're hoping to get to all 13. And at that time, we will have our executive director. At that time, we'll bring on also our part-time case manager. And we may, depending on where COVID is, if COVID is done, we hopefully will move to the 1 week at a time rotational model so that we will be able to service more families at a time and churches and organizations will at that time likely be open and needing to use their facilities. So they may not be able to give up one room for a whole month, but they may be able to give up a room for a week in order to house sites. So in phase two, remember that there's flexibility depending on what organizations are able to provide and what the need is. But what we anticipate is one family will stay at one location for a longer period of time rather than 5 families for 1 week at a time. Phase 3, it'll be 5 families for 1 week at a time. In phase 2, it'll probably be 1 family for a little bit longer. Okay. In phase 4, we'll open our full model, which is what I explained in the presentation, where we have transportation, where we have the day center open, we have our 13 host sites, we have full implementation of the whole model. Okay. So what we'd like to know is if there's any way that you can help us. If you can help us, what we're looking for is we really need host sites. That is our largest need right now. We need host sites that are either A, willing to do the phase 3 model for a week at a time, 4 times, this says 4 times a year. It's 4 times a month. I need to fix that. And they will host 5 families. Or B, for a longer stretch, but we'll only host 1 family at a time. So this is especially for organizations or churches that maybe are closed during COVID, but they're willing to help out a family that is in desperate need of some place to stay, like Magnolia is doing right now. Okay. We are also looking for support sites. These are people who say, we really can't use our facility. It's maxed out to capacity, but we'd like to help you out. These people would possibly provide financial commitments. They might take special offerings. They might put a line item in their budget saying, we will help Family Promise this amount each year. They might help organize or host fundraising events. They might help advertise the things in our newsletter and on our Facebook page within their organization. They might also provide meals during the time that host sites are hosting. So there's lots of ways to help. We really, our biggest need is the host sites, but also financial commitments would be incredibly helpful. And spread the word. If you have any questions, you can contact Family Promise's email. It's fpofriverside@gmail.com. Please find us on Facebook. Don't forget to follow us and like us on the top right corner. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to call our secretary, Cara Crone, or Vicki, or Magnolia Presbyterian Church can answer a lot of questions also, because they right now are our fiscal sponsor and are really working to help us get going. Okay. Again, this is an interfaith organization, so you do not need to be Christian to be a part of this. We have synagogues that are involved and support us. We have non-denominational, we have denominational, we have community organizations, we have all kinds of support. This is an interfaith community group that is working to help families experiencing homelessness. Thank you for your interest.